Hi guys, welcome to a couple more theories on spoken language if you're doing A-level English language. But please check out my other videos on my YouTube channel, or you can catch me on Instagram at Stacey Ray. Obviously we've got the dominant theory, all right. So in terms of dominance, we've got different studies of language and gender that often make use of two models, one of dominance and one of difference. So the first is Dale Spender, Pamela Fishman, Don Zimmerman, and Candace West, while the second is Deborah Tannen. The dominance model, the Zimmerman and West 1975, is the theory that in mixed sex conversations, men are more likely to interrupt than women. And it uses an old study of a small sample of conversations recorded in California. The subjects of the recordings were white middle class people who were under 35. Again, the information is there. That's 31 segments of conversation, and they reported in 11 conversations between men and women that men used 46 interruptions, but women only two. And from this small sample, they concluded that since men interrupt more often, they are dominating or attempting to do so. And then you've got Esther Griffin of 1980 adds that both parents interrupt daughters more than they do sons, and that fathers will interrupt more than mothers. Then we've got Jeffrey Beatty in 1982, and he criticised it because he said the problem with this is that you might simply have only one valuable male in the study, which has a disproportionate effect on the total. Beatty also questions interruptions. So, for instance, why is an interruption dominant? Can it not just be for another reason? Can it not just be interest and involvement? And he himself claims to have recorded 10 hours of tutorial discussion, 557 interruptions compared with the 55 recorded by Zimmerman and West. Beatty found that women and men interrupted with more or less equal frequency, men 34.1, women 33.8. So men did interrupt more, but it was only very slight. The dominance model, Dale Spender, he advocates a radical view of language, which he thinks embodies structures that sustain the patriarchy and sustain male power, and refers to the work of Zimmerman West to the view of the male as the norm. Again, as I say, patriarchal order, it's something that we're kind of used to, isn't it, as a society? As she claims that it's especially difficult to challenge this system since it is always reinforced in the world. The crux of our difficulties lies in being able to identify and transform the rules which govern our behaviour and which bring patriarchal order into existence. Yet the tools we have for doing this are part of the patriarchal order. While we can modify, we must nonetheless use the only language, the only classification scheme which is at our disposal. We must use it in a way that is acceptable and meaningful. But that very language and the conditions for its use in turn structure a patriarchal order. So anything you're doing in terms of studying language and gender, we can apply that in terms of this male dominated idea. Fishman, so Pamela Fishman argues in Interaction, so the work women do in 1983, that conversations between the sexes sometimes fail, not because of the way women talk, but because of how men respond and or don't. The memorable phrase from the work that women do to keep a conversation going is conversational shitwork, 1977. In Conversational Insecurity in 1990, she questions Robin Lakoff. So Lakoff, and it's on one of my earlier videos, suggests that asking questions shows that women are insecure and hesitant, whereas Fishman looked at questions as an attribute of interaction. Women ask questions because of the power of the questions, not because of weakness. So again, that's throwing up something about gender. Fishman also claims that in mixed language interactions, men speak on average for twice as long as women. And then we've got Jennifer Coates of the 1980s on the issue of topic management and topic shifts. Men often reject a topic of conversation introduced by women, whereas women support topics introduced by men. We've also got the idea that men will discuss topics that kind of, oh, it's awful in the modern society to say this, but like male dominated topics, business, sport, politics, and economics, whereas women are more likely to initiate conversation than men, but less likely to make the conversation successful. So there's quite a lot in there, guys, that you can use when you are studying language and gender particularly. I hope this was useful. It was just something quick. Please check out my other videos, and massive good luck in your studies.